Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Attorney General, for being here. We do appreciate the law enforcement being here. We've had multiple of our Democratic friends point out their presence, and we do appreciate the job you do. I thought, and everybody needs friends, and I'm glad you're supporting the Attorney General. I thought about inviting the law enforcement that's furious over Fast and Furious, but there's just not room in this room or the building, so I didn't do so. Let me ask you, Attorney General, have you read the opinion from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals on the Holy Land Foundation trial? It came out yesterday.
No, I have not seen that.
All right. Well, we know from prior documentation that there's been a relationship with CARE and the Justice Department. Is there any ongoing relationship, any reach out at this time still to CARE?
Well, we certainly reach out to a variety of Muslim groups as we try to...
Well, I'm talking specifically about CARE.
No, I was getting there. But I don't think that we have any particular outreach efforts at this point with CARE.
You know, there was a partnership between the FBI and CARE, and in 2009 it was early suspended. I didn't know if there was still informal outreach to CARE. Because we do know from this opinion yesterday, we know from the prior Fifth Circuit opinion, when CARE and ISNA and others tried to have their names struck as named co-conspirators, that it was unsuccessful. The Fifth Circuit basically saying there's a case there to prove. And then, as we know, you decided not to pursue those, or your department did, as we've talked about before. In the decision yesterday, the court said that the Palestine Committee created not only the Holy Land Foundation, but a number of other Islamist entities in the U.S. Leaders of one of those entities, the Islamic Association for Palestine, subsequently created CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, which was cited as an unindicted co-conspirator. So it does create some concerns. We know there was massive number of documents being furnished to the defendants in that case, a lot of production of documents, but I would like to ask that we get copies of the documents that were provided to the 5 defendants who are now convicted and affirmed by the Fifth Circuit. Would the Justice Department make those documents available?
I'm not sure I know what documents you're talking about. If they were provided in litigation.
Correct.
And if we can provide them, I'm sure that we would. I don't know if there are documents that have been provided in discovery that we don't have the ability to provide. I just don't know the answer to that.
Well, they have been furnished by your department to the defendants in the case. Those defendants have now been found guilty of providing support to terrorism. There's no question in my mind that those documents are now in the possession of terrorists, and so we have had trouble getting production of all the documents that we have desired and requested, and I didn't think that there should be any problem with privilege or anything of that nature, since the defendants who are convicted of supporting terrorism have them, the terrorists have them, and I just felt like it'd be a good idea for Congress to have them. These are... I'll
only take that request under advisement, and to the extent that we can provide documents.
Well, I hope that we will have as good a standing as the terrorist supporters that have been convicted. I'm familiar as a judge handling massive litigation, been in MDL with a document dump. About 100 of these are just Grassley's letters, but I want to ask you, since you had said before in your statement that you asked the Department Inspector General to investigate this Fast and Furious matter, in March you ordered a directive be sent to law enforcement prosecutor prohibiting such tactics, and in this entire stack is not an email, not a letter, not a transcript of a speech, nothing from you. I would ask where they are. If you did those things in February and March, where are they? And not only that, you testified May 3rd in here, as we recall, that you had just learned about Fast and Furious a few weeks before. And now you say, actually, in February and March, you made these orders. When was the first time after May the 3rd you began to suspect that you may have actually taken actions in this case?
Well, I actually took actions well before May the 3rd, on February the 28th.
Well, Unless you were intentionally misrepresenting the facts on May 3rd, which I'm not contending at all, then at some point you began to wonder, gee, I believe I issued some orders in this matter. We haven't seen the orders. All we have is the transcript here. We know you're capable of mistakes, as you've verified. Where are the emails, letters, orders? Where are they from February and March?
All right, well, there are a couple of things going on here. I mean, I didn't play any role in the drafting of the February 4th letter with regard to the notion of...
So you were not the one that ordered the inspector...
The gentleman's time has expired. The AG will be allowed to answer the last question.
With regard to the question of what I said on May the 3rd about a few weeks, I mean, I said a few weeks about when I first learned about Fast and Furious. I learned about Fast and Furious when this became a matter of controversy, I think sometime at the beginning of the year, and my guess is probably about the middle of February, which would have been about 10 or 12 weeks before I said a few weeks. Now, I could have said, you know, a couple of months. Maybe I should have been more precise, but a few weeks from my perspective was accurate then, and it still seems to be accurate now when I say a few weeks, 10 or 12 weeks, but I think be encompassed in that description.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask that he be allowed to actually answer the question of whether or not he's the one that actually ordered the Inspector General to investigate that, and if so, where the documentation of it.
Okay.
That was my question.
And has the AG answered or responded?
I'll answer. I was, in fact, the person who ordered the Inspector General to begin this investigation. I don't think I did that in any written form. I think that was transmitted from me either through my Chief of Staff, through the Deputy Attorney General, to the IG. There might be a writing that exists in that regard, but I don't think that I signed off on anything actually. I have a good relationship with the Inspector General. The Inspector General's office had looked at this whole question of gun trafficking before, and it seemed logical to ask them to expand their inquiry and look into Fast and Furious. As I said, I don't think there's any writing from me, but I don't think there's any writing from me that exists with regard to...
Well, we'd sure ask for a copy.
Okay.
Any such exists. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Gohmert.